Hello guys, and welcome to my video on how to theorycraft any build in the Elder Scrolls Online. So this is a great video if you guys are maybe thinking about putting a build together, but you don't know what it's going to look like and you want to have a better idea of how your build's going to turn out before you maybe invest a lot of time and money in-game into it. So I'm going to go through one of my favorite websites for the Elder Scrolls Online, and it is the uesp.net website, and it has a fantastic ESO build editor, and I'm going to show you guys how to use it and all the little nuances of it, and hopefully by the end of this video you guys will be easily able to go and theorycraft any build that you guys want before you go and invest a lot of money on the live server. Now, a few things that I want to note about this build editor before we begin is that you do need to have a computer to use it. It does work on some mobile devices, but some of them that I've tried on this website don't work. So for the safe bet, I would say go with a tablet or computer to make sure that this website's working for you. But you're very flexible with a site like this. You can put together any build that you want. It has all the sets in the game, etc. So even if you maybe don't really know what you want to put together, you could use a website like this for a little bit of build exploration or set exploration as well. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into the build editor. And we're going to go through this as quickly as possible to hopefully explain how this thing kind of works. So to begin, we have the general tab here where you can set a build name and a character name. These don't really matter unless you are saving your builds. Now, in order to save a build, in order for you to view it later in your own kind of build profile, you do need to create an account on uesp.net. Once you have an account created, you can save builds. However, you do not need an account to actually use this site. So you don't have to create an account if you don't want to. So let's jump into this a little bit further. You can select your race for your character right away, which is very important for whatever build you're going to do. Not only will you be able to select the race here, but you can view all the racial passives as well in the skills tree. You'll be able to set your class, so you can pick from any of the 5 classes in-game. You can select your Mundus Stone as well as a second Mundus Stone, and this becomes available if you have a 5-piece Twiceborn Star on. So it has all of the stuff you need to really give you the flexibility to run any of the sets that you want. You can set your character level and your total CP. You can also set whether you're a vampire or a werewolf, whether you're stealthed and in PvP or not, and whether you have champion points or not. You can even set your faction, but this has no real impact on the end build. Here you can set your attributes out of 64 points in total, and this is just how you're going to do that. And then the rest of this stuff here, you can actually change these hard values. However, these values are based off of a formula according to what gear and equipment and race you pick. So you don't actually want to adjust any of these, but you can always take a peek at these values here to give you an idea of some of your stats. Now, before we carry on to the next page here, we're just going to take a look at the right-hand side here. And this side here doesn't change regardless of where you go in your different tabs on the build editor. And this is kind of your character's hard stats. And as you make changes and add or take away things from your build, you'll see this page change. And this is your end stat page, fully buffed depending on how you set your character up. And all your attributes are going to be here. We've got health, magicka, stamina, all our recoveries, weapon and spell damage, weapon and spell crit. We have our weapon and spell critical damage values. So these are very important. This tells you how much crit damage you will deal when you land a crit. So right now it's at the base 1.5 bonus. You have your spell resist, your physical resist, and your critical resistance in here, as well as your spell and physical penetration. So this will give you an idea of how much penetration you have too. Now these values here called your effective weapon and spell power. These values are kind of the end result of when they add up all the different things that you have going into your damage, be your penetration, your weapon damage, your max stam, your weapon crit, and stuff like that. Now, these values can get very high. If you have 8 to 10k effective weapon or spell power, you're going to start hitting very hard. So it's kind of just a soft value there. If you want to start dealing damage, 8 to 10k is in that burst range, at least for PvP builds. We even have all of our elemental resistances here, our healing done, taken, received, and total. These are very important if you're going to be putting together a tank or healing build that really needs to play these values. And then we also have all of the other values here, which are in meters per second for our different movement speeds, etc. And the individual costs for a lot of our different abilities as well. So we have a very good detailed breakdown on all the different statistics of our build, and this page here is more detailed than what you will get in game. So this will give you a lot of information that you wouldn't have in game even. So moving on to the next tab here, we have the items tab, and this is quite obviously where you're going to put on your gear. We're going to start with something like Valk and Scoria. Type in Valk, we want a legendary helmet, any traits work, light impenetrable, and it's just like that. You have a few options for what you want to pick here. You can change the level of the gear, you can change the traits, but at the end of the day, if you leave the options open, it just gives you access to whatever it could find in that kind of definition there. So you can set up all your gear this way. It works for the jewelry, the weapons, all the same way. You just type in what you're looking for. We'll just type in a ring here, and we'll see. There we go. Just any ring. Man, this is not a great build so far, but there you go. And then we can also set our food and drink on this page as well. And this is just going to help for your build, max stat, sustain, etc. The best way to use the food and drink tab, I think, is to just leave it blank and then hit search, and it brings up all of the food and drink in the game. I know it says CP 160, but it doesn't actually do the food and drink by level at all, so then you can just actually pick out exactly what food or drink you're looking for, or if you don't know what to run, you can see what's available to you in this menu here. And then the weapons are done the same way as the gear as well. Just like we talked about, you just type in the text and look, set your quality. Now these attributes of your gear, etc. can be changed afterwards. And you can always just go in and change them again here. You can change the traits with the sidebars here. The weapons, we have all 9 traits active. Jewelry, we have all 9 traits as well. And then same with our gear. So you can change the traits afterwards if you like to. It also shows you your bar 1 and your bar 2, and this will affect your stat page depending on what bar you're on. But this part of the Buildcraft won't really come in until you start to put your skills in. Now when we scroll down here, we have a few handy tools to use for this gear feature here. I think one of the best ones is the armor enchantment tool. We can change all of our enchantments on a fly here. So we can change all our enchantments on our armor to prismatic, and it'll change all armor pieces to the tri-stat glyphs. So just a little easy tool to use there. We can do that with the armor traits, the jewelry traits, and the other weapon traits as well. But most of the time with the jewelry weapon traits, those are going to be different depending on specific weapons and stuff like that. So you do have a lot of flexibility as well as tools to kind of speed up the process if you don't want to spend a lot of time typing in all the stuff that you're looking for. So taking a peek at our next page here, we have got the sets page, and this page is actually just going to show you the sets that you're wearing, and you can toggle whether they're going to be active or not. So we're going to show this by typing in Bloodspawn here, and we're going to go for a oh, that's not what I'm looking for. We're going to go for a Bloodspawn set. Oh, and it looks like I actually disabled this item. There's another option that you have here. You can view the details, enchant the item, or you can disable it, which kind of hides the item. So make sure you have all your items enabled. So we have the Bloodspawn set on here, and we see that my armor values are sitting at 3k because we don't really have any gear on. But when we click the set on like this, we get to see what our stats look like with Bloodspawn procced. So this essentially allows you to see what your build's going to look like statistically when you have all your set procs up, etc. by toggling them in this spot here. It'll also give you information to all the sets that you're wearing. Now, taking a look at the skills page, you guys recognize this from in-game. This is where you're going to set all your active and passive skills. You have access to all of the abilities that each class can have access to. Everything's fully leveled and upgraded for you, so you can really set up any build that you want here. Now, quick tip for using this page here. You have the purchase line option. Instead of going through and picking all your passives, you can just hit purchase line on each of them, and bam, we have all of our Dragon Knight passives just like that. We want to do two-handed. We have our two-handed and one-hand and shield lines just like that, and then we have our medium armor just like that. So it makes it really easy to set all your skills and passives for a PTS build, unless you want to go through and pick specifically the passives that you need and don't need for the sake of kind of saving skill points. This is going to be the easiest way for you to quickly throw together those passives so you can put that build together. Now, taking a look at the next page, we have got the buffs page. Now, this is a very important page for, I think, build crafting, because it gives you a good idea of what your build will look like, not only when the build's done, but when it's actively in combat and fully buffed. And I'm just going to add a quick weapon here. We're just going to go with any weapon, and we're going to make it a Frost Staff infused. And I'm going to show you guys why we're going to do this. And we're going to change this enchant real quick to... Oops, a weapon damage enchant. So here we see we have the increased weapon and spell damage by 452 for 5 seconds. So your buff page includes all of your buffs that you can have on your character in the game, your major minor buffs. So if you have major brutality up, it's going to affect your weapon damage, and here we see the weapon damage will go up when we add the major brutality buff there. So whatever buff your character would normally get in the course of combat from their potions or whatever gear that they're running, you can make sure that they're toggled on here in order to see that full stat page. And then the reason that I went and put that weapon spell damage enchant on the gear is that that enchant buff is actually included in this buff page as well. So all of your buffs, including your enchant buff, will be in here, and we see that bonus to the weapon damage now going up to 2,100. So we get that big bonus there. So this is how you're going to add all those little end things to your build. Make sure you add all the buffs that your build has so you can see what your max stats will look like in the end. The next page we have is the champion point page. Now this page here is an exact copy of your champion points from in-game, just like our skill tree. You can set all your CP here. The one thing about this page though is that it does not limit you. You can essentially spend all of your CP if you want here. Now, if you want to make a build for the live server, I would recommend that you take whatever the CP total is on live and then model your build that you make here after that. And don't go over it. But if you were curious what a build would look like if it had maxed out CP, you can always check that out here. 3,600 champion points is not playing around. Now the next page we have here is a raw data page, and this just kind of gives you more of a breakdown of things that we've kind of already seen. It's just going to tell you all of the different pieces of gear that you have equipped and all the buffs that you have active, etc. It's just telling you all the different things that have gone into your build to make it essentially your build. It's the raw data. You don't need to look at this really ever for when you're just making builds. I really don't look at this ever. It's not very important. And then finally, we have a help page at the end. If you guys have any more questions for this build editor that I didn't answer here, hopefully this help page can help you out. It'll also give you a list of known bugs and recent patches. So there you go, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I have found this editor to be one of, if not the most useful tool for helping me make ESO builds. As someone who makes a lot of ESO builds, and I'm constantly doing BuildCraft, making builds and uploading them to YouTube, etc., this website has been my best friend. So I really hope you guys enjoy using this site as much as I have, and I hope it saves you a little bit of coin for those builds so you can see what you're going to get into before you jump into it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you guys are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you guys want to see live gameplay, you can always check me out on Twitch. And then finally, we are sponsored by What the Fast. They are a VPN for gamers. If you guys get crap pinged to your favorite game, you can check them out. And as always, guys, a big shout out to uesp.net for creating this editor. And then, of course, we have a link to this editor in the video description. Have a great night, everybody, and I will see you next time.